Hi guys, my name is Monica, and this week I am going to be talking about classical conditioning. This week, as we learned, Ivan Pavlov, I hope I'm saying that right, was the one who initiated the study of classical conditioning. Um, it started, it was really not his intention at first, as he was studying at the beginning uh, gastric juices from the digestive system from dogs. So he was collecting samples of those juices and seeing, the cause of it and the anatomy anatomy of it. And he later discovered that while he was doing the that experiment, um, when he was bringing the meat powder, he noticed how the dog would salivate, seeing that powder of meat come in. So that kind of sparked an idea in his mind of, how were these dogs conditioned to know when the meat was coming and what made them salivate, which this is what intrigued Pavlov's idea of classical conditioning. Um, at first, he did not push it just because he wasn't like too sure of what it was of it. Um, he did in 1904 receive a Nobel Prize where he did first make mentions of classical conditioning. Um, and another thing to know as well is that he was against psychologists, which is really weird because of the studies he was doing. Um, but that is something like kind of like unique to know because I find it interesting that someone who, was doing all of these kind of researches and these studies was against psychologists in general. So that is something interesting. Um, Kind of some terminology that we learned this week for classical conditioning was to take conditioning as something learned. So basically, classical learned is what I have in my mind, which indicates, like unconditioned reflex response is a trigger by an unconditioned stimulus, which was in Pavlov's study, the meat powder. Um, and another terminology to consider would is conditioned stimulus, which was a previously um, net neutral stimulus um, that had been powered by the unconditioned reflex response, um, which all of that kind of triggers how the dog will respond to the stimulus, which was the meat powder during Pavlov's um, discovery of what was adapting these dogs to salivate. Um, he also, um, classical conditioning was also known at the beginning as Pavlovian conditioning, which did not last long, according to Article 8 of this week's um, readings. It was not something that sticked for much of a time. That's why we today know it as classical conditioning. And that is all I have for this week. I hope you guys learned a little about classical conditioning and really just the important facts about it and where it really came from. So thank you for watching.